Well, hey there guys, my name is Ed, and today I'm gonna show you an art collection video. This isn't such a big collection as the N64 that I did a couple weeks ago. This is the Sega Game Gear Collection. I currently own about 75 games for the system. I have a working system, a couple of accessories, some boxed, and some boxed games. So, let's get into it. So the Sega Game Gear, as you can see right here, is an 8-bit system. It is of the 4th generation and the first handheld console that Sega made. The Game Gear was released in the USA and the European markets in 1991 in order to compete with the Game Boy and of course with the Atari Lynx, the other handheld system that had a full color thing. I don't know if this one was backlit, but the Game Gear is backlit. It is a full color working 8-bit system. Alright, so yeah, these were the competitors. You also had the TurboGrafx Express, which is TurboGrafx or PC Engine's handheld, which nobody seemed to own back in the day. But yeah, those were the competitors. Of course, Game Boy won. They did have a successor planned for the Game Gear, like the Game Gear 2 or something like that, but that soon got shelved, and they did put out a successor in the form of the Sega Nomad. So the Sega Nomad is basically a Genesis in handheld mode. You can put your Genesis carts in there and play them on the go, but as far as playing a Game Gear game on this, there wasn't any backwards compatibility or anything like that, but this was the last handheld console that Sega put out. Now, the Game Gear actually didn't sell too bad. I mean, they sold 10 million copies, but there was a lot of stuff wrong with the system. You had to put in 6 AA batteries in order to play, and then it would only last up to 3 or 5 hours of gameplay time. So yeah, that's really a battery guzzling system right here. I found this one over at a flea market. No, I'm lying. I found it over at a garage sale. A guy walked out with it at a garage sale together with Aladdin, I think, on the Game Gear. And I was like, hey, are you selling that? And he's like, yeah, sure, €5. So I was like, okay, I hope this works, because that's the problem with these little systems. You almost never find one that is still working, because the capacitors and the other stuff they used very cheap materials to produce these, and yeah, unfortunately not a lot of them survived. So let's just pop in a game over here and see if this one still works, because it's been a while since I've you know, plugged this one in. Let's grab Aladdin. Alright, let's turn it on. Let's see. Yeah, we got something right here. Oh, we even have sound. Awesome. So yeah, you got a volume button right there. You have the power button up here. In the back, you open up the, you pop in the cartridge. You have your sound thing over here, which is almost always broken. Once again, you also have a brightness knob to, you know, switch up the display, to, you know, clear up the display, make it a bit brighter if it's necessary. Alright, so this one still works. This is mine from back in the day, but this is not the first one I actually bought. One of the first consoles I bought boxed was actually the Game Gear, and that's the one we have right here, with Sonic on the cover. Yeah, I was like, I know about the problematics with these systems, so I'm gonna get one in the box over at a convention, and you know, that will probably secure me in having a system that actually works. Boy, I bought this one. I really haggled him down because he didn't know, is it gonna work, is it not gonna work? And this was like 8 or 10 years ago already. I think I paid $40 for this boxed one. It did come with the AC adapter, which is great because, like we said before, it's a really battery guzzling system. Now, I came home, I turned it on, the sound didn't work, the screen was so-so, and I think by now this system inside here is probably just dead because the capacitors gave up. And let's take a first look at a couple of games, because over here you can see it's 1991. They're really pushing all of their systems with Sonic, and there was a lot of Sonic games on this system. For sure, damn. Now, seeing as this pretty much is a handheld Sega Master System, what they could do really easily is put out a game on the Sega Master System and then quickly port it over to the Game Gear. And that's what happened with these first couple Sonic games. So you have Sonic 1, you got Sonic 2, you also have Sonic Chaos, there's the 2-in-1 Sonic, there's Triple Trouble, Sonic the Hedgehog, and we also have Sonic Labyrinth, which is a hard to find game. It's not very good. And where the frick is the other game I wanted to talk about? Sonic Drift. Where did Sonic Drift? Oh, and over here we have Sonic Drift. Now, Sonic Drift is pretty cool because it's basically Mario Kart with Sonic. Not too good. I mean, it kind of looks like you're playing Outrun with Sonic characters and, you know, trying to kart around. It was good and actually got a sequel too, so there's a Sonic Drift 2 out there also. Still looking for that one, but hey, Sonic really pushed the system. It's actually fun playing Sonic on a handheld like this. Definitely back in the day, being able to play your Sonic on the Game Gear, that was something cool. But, well, you know, they dropped an AC adapter in here because they already knew, hey, the system... 3 to 5 hours of gameplay and then it's done. So when you're home, plug it in and play it like that. So that really beats the purpose of it being a handheld console. But then again, you know, it actually had a lot of good games, not exclusive games, and that's one thing we're gonna get into pretty soon. Now, let's talk about a couple of my favorite games that are in here. Like Shikon, you got the Streets of Rage series. You also have the Wonder Boy games, which are really good. You got Fantasy Zone, just a ton of Sega Master System stuff got ported to the system, and it's not bad at all. There's also some RPGs like Golden Axe Axe Battler, which really looks like a Zelda game, and it fits into the Golden Axe series really smoothly. Another RPG I own is Defenders of Oasis, which is also just a pretty cool RPG. It's based around, you know, that the theme of, you know, Aladdin, so Eastern stuff like that, but it's definitely a cool RPG. Now, which ones are the most expensive ones in my collection currently? These games are kind of weird. It's not that they're like ridiculously good games, they're just a bit harder to get. For example, this Game Gear game, Mortal Kombat 3, which has 1 to 2 players. You could actually get a link cable and hook up to another Game Gear system and play and compete with your friends. That's what that little indicator over here is, 1 or 2 players. You have it on every cartridge. Of course, most of them are just 1-player titles. Now, Mortal Kombat 3 is what could have been Mortal Kombat 3 on the Master System. I think this one is a European exclusive, and that makes it just a little bit harder to find. Another harder to find game is Ren and Stimpy and the Quest for the Shaven Yak. An okay platformer. Of course, it's Ren and Stimpy, so you never really know what you're gonna get. It's not a terribly thrilling or exciting game, it's just platforming with Ren and Stimpy, really. Why is it expensive? I have no idea, and what do I mean by expensive? They're like around 20 to 30 euros worth or something like that. One of the games I was looking for a long time is this Tales Adventure game, which I picked up last year. Yeah, I picked it up over at a convention for 5 euros. It's a game that can go up to 40 euros easily, and it's basically the first ever spin-off of a Sonic game in which you play as Tails as the main character. So yeah, it's platforming with Tails. You have a jump, you have like a flying move with your Tails that you can do. Haven't really played it too much yet, but I really enjoy having this one in the collection for sure. Like I said before, Sonic Labyrinth is also a bit harder to get. And then we also have a sports game. Well, it's not really a sports game. This one is called Markos Magic Football. It also came out on the Mega Drive or Genesis, I think. And what makes this sports game a bit more rare is because it's not really a sports game. It's a platformer in which you play as a guy called Marco who has a football, and you platform through the levels with your soccer ball. It kind of reminds me of Kid Soccer on the SNES. And yeah, probably because it's not really a sports game per se, that's what makes it a bit harder to get, because people thought, oh, it's a sports game, not gonna buy it, maybe less copies got sold, and that's what makes it a bit more expensive to find right now. Now, what are some of my favorite games on the system? As I bought my first system, I also got a couple games, and you know, I got attached to it. I didn't have one growing up, so there's no old stories. I don't even think I knew the Game Gear existed back in the day. But yeah, what are some of my favorite games? I terribly enjoy the Streets of Rage series, so I got Streets of Rage 1 and 2, and it's amazing to get to play these on the go. Then some of the games that are, I think, developed just for the system are the Shinobi games. The Shinobi games are pretty darn cool. So you got Shinobi 1, you got Shinobi 2, really fun ninja-esque platforming games. What you do is you find items and you beat people up along the way. You got your ninja stars, you got your ninja kicks and all that stuff. That's not the only ninja game. You also got Ninja Gaiden on the system, which isn't like the Sega Master System game, so it's a different game. It's pretty fun actually also. A pretty cool cover, so yeah, I really like the ninja games. Double Dragon on the system is also a pretty good one. And of course you got the other regular beat-em-ups like the Power Rangers, the Mighty Power Rangers, the movie game, and just a ton of other ones. Which one is an exclusive game to the system? Super Columns is an exclusive game to the system. You had the regular Columns that also came out on the Genesis and the Sega Master System, but this is where it's at, a Sega Game Gear exclusive Super Columns, which doesn't really bring too much new stuff to the table, but anyways, had to point it out. Now, there's a couple of exclusive games on the system, but not really any to really talk about into great detail. I also have a couple of boxed games. I even have one still sealed. I think the pink or the purple surrounding over here means that it's an American game. You can spot the difference over here. I think this is also an American game. You got on the cover thing right there, that pink border, which doesn't seem to be on any of these other games. So I got the Lion King sealed. I don't think it's worth much because they were like selling a bunch of sealed games. I think this Deep Duck Trouble starring Donald Duck was also sealed, but I opened it up because I wanted to play it. Hey, that was like 8 years ago. I wasn't really too hardcore into collecting back then, and I only paid like 3 or 2.5 euros for both these. So yeah, these two. Then at a flea market I found the Garfield Caught in the Act. The same thing goes for Game Boy games. When you find a Game Gear game in the box, it's already going to be worth a lot more. I think probably the two most expensive ones I have are, because I have them in the box, are this Superman game, which is pretty neat. You get to fly around, you get to beat up bad guys, and this was actually a thrift store find over at the toy aisle. In with some board games, I found this little cool, awesome boxed game called The Adventures of Batman and Robin. Now, the Mega Drive version of this game is really expensive. The SNES version is also really expensive, and this is probably the most expensive game of the whole lot. Not just because it is boxed, but also because it's a bit more rare to get. And yeah, it's a fun game. It's more like a beat-em-up action game. You got your Batarang, and when enemies come a bit closer, you get to beat them up. So yeah, you try to defeat the Joker at the end. It's a Batman game. It always comes down to that. And lastly, I have Psychic World, which is also an action platforming game. The box isn't in too good condition, but still good, still good. Then let's get into some of the oddities. We knew the battery situation for the Game Gear was pretty problematic, so over here, when I bought this one, I actually found this too for a really cheap price. This is a boxed battery pack, and basically what they wanted you to do is, you know, you charge up this pack thing. So what they actually wanted you to do was charge up this battery pack thing and hook it up to your belt as you were walking around with the system, and then you could turn it on or off to play your system on the go and have an expanded battery life. But yeah, this thing is just so freaking big, man. It's insane, but cool to have the accessory, you know, in the box. Another thing I have is pretty freaking weird. So we got a full color backlit screen. It's 3.2 square inches, and they thought, well, you know, let's put a TV tuner pack out. So over here, what do we have? We have a little system that allowed you to watch TV back when, you know, not every TV thing was digital. So this is a boxed one. Very nice condition. I don't think this is gonna work anyways, but let's just test it out. So you got a really freaking big antenna. Let's plug this in and let's see what happens, guys. So you would plug that in, you would boot up the system, and then what would you need to do? Would you need to see, oh, doesn't seem like we're getting anything in yet. So yeah, this thing is pretty much worthless, but it's such a cool accessory and just an oddity to get. That's why I wanted to get it. So yeah, back in the day, you could, you know, watch some TV of what you could pick up with the antenna and just be on the bus looking like this. Like, there's nothing weird with this, right? That's just insane. The Sega Game Gear TV tuner. And then we're gonna get into probably my favorite accessory for the system, and that is the Gear Master. So like I said before, the Game Gear is pretty much a master system, tiny system. It has a lot of the same mechanics and you know, how the system is built up inside there. So you could actually buy multiple of these adapters. This one is by Bees but I've seen a couple of other ones. I think this one is the best one so far that I found that really works really great. So what you would do is you would plug it in here, and then you could, you know, screw it so it's locked in tightly, and you could get your Game Gear games. You pop them in there and you can play Game Gear titles on the go just like that. Not too big actually. This would work. I mean, if I already had the game on the Master System back in the day and I would have this little accessory, I would probably play it like this. And I actually do play a lot of my Master Systems just like this. I sit in the couch, I plug in a Master System game like this, and I have a go at it over on my little Game Gear system right here. So yeah, there we have it. The last thing I want to talk about is a couple of multi-carts I have right here. Whenever you have a system, you're gonna have multi-carts. Back in the day, you had some for the NES, you had some for the Game Boy, you probably had some for the Mega Drive, but the Game Gear, they also had some. So over here, we got the Super 68-in-1, which is probably more like 12 games. They just renamed over and over again. And I have the Super Game Gear 15, which has 15 games on it. Cliffhanger, Simpson World, Robocop 3, Woody Pop, Bank Panic, My Hero Teddy Boy, Great Soccer, Joe Machine Gun, Satellite, 7 Tennis, Arkanoid, probably Arkanoid, World Cup 94, Mad Dog, and Super Tennis. Now the cool things about these little multi-carts is sometimes you would get lucky and like a really rare game would be on it, which allowed you to play it. Even now, as a retro collector, that's cool, because if there's like a game out there that's like worth 200 euros, you're not gonna, you don't know if you want to, you know, buy it. You can test it out with these multi-carts and, you know, decide for yourself, hey, do I really want to do that? Or you can just emulate it, you know? So guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this somewhat smaller collection. I think next month I'll probably go for a system like the Mega Drive or maybe the SNES. Let me know down below what you want to see. I'm also really almost done tidying up my room, so the game room tour update for 2019 will be up next month. And I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you will stick around the channel, maybe subscribe, leave a comment, leave a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next video. See you later. Bye!